Hi and welcome. This is John Genovese, and on this show, I had Johnny Monsarrat, the massive multiplayer online game godfather and overall augmented reality expert. You'll hear us discuss the future of AR walking games and ideas for a more fun and supportive metaverse. Enjoy.
And welcome to this Web3 conversation, right? We're really aiming to give folks a front row seat at this rapidly evolving metaverse and Web3 space. And I'm super pleased to have Johnny with us today. But so by way of introduction, Johnny, hopefully I do you some service here. Johnny is one of only a handful of people in the world who can claim to have invented MMO games, which now I think is like a $30 billion per year industry. And I spent portions of my childhood playing some MMO games, so this conversation holds a real special place in my heart.
I'm
And
sorry.
he was founder and CEO of Turbine, which pioneered MMO games like Lord of the Rings and Asheron's Call and Dungeons and Dragons Online. And I think Warner Brothers, right, bought that for $160 million. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as we go into this conversation. And now you're CEO of Monsarrat, making a next generation AR mobile walking game with a major Hollywood partner and a metaverse strategy wrapped around all that. And Monsarrat is based in Los Angeles and Warsaw. And you've completed an alpha game, I believe, right? And you're raising the next round of funding. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. I just the very first demo of the alpha game about an hour ago. The very,
Okay.
very first demo where it looks like a game, not like eat art.
So hot off the press is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's actually going to be fun in about a week. So
Okay.
I'm super excited to try it myself for the first time.
Well, if there's an alpha list of testers, put me on that list.
Sure.
Yeah. Look, so let's start high level, right? From a Web3 metaverse perspective, I'd love to know where you're spending the majority of your time and why that matters to you.
Well, the metaverse is not actually a super new concept. The metaverse is a way of saying that there are 3D virtual worlds that can interoperate. And of course, we've had 3D virtual worlds for a long time. MMOs are a good example of that. And as you just said, thank you so much, John, that I helped to pioneer at what MMOs are. So I guess the question now is, how can MMOs interoperate? There's a different kind of metaverse. My company, as you know, works in augmented reality. So you're walking around outdoors with your phone. And because you're outdoors, I think it's just healthier mentally and physically. It's, of course, not as immersive, but is computer graphics the most important part of the metaverse? Because I thought it was about interactivity and interoperability. And sometimes I read a book that doesn't have any pictures, but it's in my mind's eye, right? There's nothing wrong with having amazing computer graphics. Oh, I'm immersed. I love computer graphics. Nothing wrong with having computer graphics. But increasing the computer graphics is really not the same as player interactivity, storytelling, fun, monetization. It's basically a different dimension. I'm making axes
Yeah.
with my hands here. So I would question the idea that you have to be fully immersed in a VR world for the metaverse to even work at all. I think the metaverse could be a lot of different things. I know that there are communities like Snapchat with a Bitmoji or Facebook where they're giving you a little avatar of yourself, and then you yourself can go to different virtual worlds. I think that's kind of cool, actually, especially in the casual game space where you aren't taking on a role. But when it comes to RPGs, I don't want to be me in a spy game. I want to be a spy in a spy game. I don't want to be me in a robot game. I want to be a robot in a robot game. So the idea of having just one avatar that goes everywhere, I'm a little skeptical of that as well. But maybe some of my funny hats could follow me. Some of my cosmetic items could follow me from game to game. Perhaps my friends and my associations. In an MMO, as you know, John, there's a concept called a clan. A clan is a large permanent group. It's like Boy Scouts versus Girl Scouts. Fight to the death. Am I in the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts? Am I in the Wolf Clan or the Bear Clan? Well, If I join a clan, it's a large permanent group in an MMO game, maybe those kinds of relationships could come with me from one MMO game to another. And of course, we are also talking about items and possibly experiences, which I can speak to if you'd like.
Yeah, I love the idea of, and again, just for folks listening, we were talking before we hit record on the idea that, there's it feels like everybody and their brother now is creating some sort of NFT item in various games. And love to get your perspective, Johnny, on where do you think this goes, right? And how do you, if you're an average avatar, average person, right? And you're like, hey, I want to maybe make a bet in an NFT digital item. Like, what are your thoughts on how to choose the right one, or why even choose the right one to begin with?
Well, if I was thinking about joining a game so I could invest into NFTs and then make a profit, well, first of all, I would question, is that even really a game? I think that you should have fun while you're playing a game. Call me crazy. I think games should be fun. So there are two scenarios I can give you. In one scenario, you're grinding through the game, you get a gem. You grind, get a gem. Maybe you pay some money, you get a gem. Well, grinding is not super fun, and a gem is a commodity. Well, commodity pricing can fluctuate a lot. And when you use NFTs, you're exposing the pricing of the objects to an open market. You can have bubbles, you can have crashes. In general, volatility is not good for any kind of stock market or any kind of market. Whereas if you give the players tools, and this is what Monsarrat hopes to do, tools to be creative. Maybe you're expressing yourself by creating skins for existing items, or maybe you're creating player levels. That kind of quality and human creativity is not a commodity. So you can charge higher pricing. The prices will tend to fluctuate less. And I think that you're exposing yourself less to bubbles and crashes. Plus, it's more fun to be creative and build a level for somebody else than it is just to grind through and get some more gems.
Absolutely.
So those are the types of games I would tend to gravitate towards.
What's the evolution of AR look like in the next 5 years?
Well, to me, Pokemon Go has a secret. The secret is that its maker, which is called Niantic, it's not really a games company. They were spun out of Google Maps. They like maps. There's even a function in Pokemon Go where they tell the player to stop, spin around with a LiDAR, and record the map. That's fine, but it's not a game. That's building a map database. And I don't know if that's the future. I think the future of AR games should be fun. Call me crazy. I also know that in Pokemon Go, a lot of players turn off the augmented reality feature because you kind of don't need it to play the game. Well, what if I was fighting a robot and there's a kill switch on the back of the robot? I have to circle around the robot. I'm actually interacting with the augmented reality creature. Well, there's nothing like that in Pokemon Go. It's not really interactive with augmented reality. Also, in Pokemon Go, you get these little 60-second adventures, little pinpoints on the map. But the pinpoints have no relationship to each other. So you can't really use them as building blocks to tell a story. Well, my company, Monsarrat, has a full US patent on a technology that lets us create game zones. And these game zones can stretch and adapt. You know how a website still looks good no matter what type of device it's on? In the same way, our game zones are still playable no matter how you're fitting them to the map. So if there's a certain map space that's available, a certain park with a certain shape, we'll fit the adventure there and make it playable. And the thing is that if you can tell a good story, you can retain your players for longer and monetize them better. As you may know, John, in the first 2 months, Pokemon Go lost 80% of their players because the game was repetitive, right? I doubt that many people watching this video now played Pokemon Go for more than a couple of months. Whereas MMO games, they retain players for a long time. 2 of my original MMO games are still going.
Is there any new technology in AR that you're thinking of leveraging or that excites you then as we move into this next phase of where AR could be, which is around more immersive storytelling and not just holding your phone up and seeing something laid over the real world, but more interaction? Is there any technology or anything that's really exciting you in that space?
There's a lot of technology, really. But I think that all the deep tech stuff is becoming a commodity. When it comes to things like using augmented reality with occlusion. So if there's a tree and there's like a guy behind the tree, I'm not seeing the guy on top of the tree. I'm seeing the guy occluded by the tree. That kind of technology is coming, but I don't want to compete with tech giants. So my company just doesn't want to get involved directly in that. We'll let the tech giants do their thing, and then we'll use it to build another layer, which is game technology on top of that. And to me, I think that's where a lot of the promise is.
Hey, look, if you really want to get more exposed to where AR is going, check this out. Is there anything like that?
Let's say that I'm navigating a secret cave in a regular computer game. I'm using the keyboard to walk around, right? But in an AR mobile walking game, I'm physically walking using the phone. And it's actually like visceral, and it's actually like a lot of fun and kind of scary to walk around a dark cave, even though you're actually in your park, your local public park. So there's a nature to these AR games which hasn't really been exploited by the kind of directionless Pokemon Go play. You can go north or south. Doesn't really matter where you go in Pokemon Go. You just kind of go wherever you want to go.
So do you see communities then popping up to support, whether it be the AR game directly or just, in AR enthusiasts, and then people coming together and exploring these AR experiences together?
Well, certainly, if you're going to be playing games with people, whether you're in a clan, which could be remote, or you're meeting people physically, you want to have a good community of like good-hearted, good-spirited, good sportsmanship type of people. So once you start building relationships, you want to keep those.
That's right.
Similar to Uber. You want to rate them, maybe they're rating you, and you want to get the best quality drivers, the best quality riders. So building a community, I think, is super important. And that's why we're using MMO gameplay to let players entertain each other, let players play together, put player interactivity in the center of AR mobile walking games.
So here, I'm going to connect some dots for us and for the listeners. So and I'd love if you shared a little bit about this in your background on Soul Burners, which was a nonprofit that you had that I remember hearing about years ago when it came out, and always thinking it was a really, really cool thing that somebody was doing. And don't be known, now we're having this conversation. But you think about what you did with Soul Burners, and I think you should give the audience, the folks listening, some context there, and we'll include a link in the notes. But do you see anything like that happening in the AR space, where maybe it's not physical notes, but maybe there's a place where people can go ahead and post notes in AR where other people can respond to? I'm just kind of connecting two dots together.
Sure. And since you brought it up, I'll quickly say that Soul Burners was an outdoor kiosk where people would take a question and they'd write it on a colored card. It would be like an advice column question, like, how do I forgive my mother? Or should I break up with her? And they put this into the kiosk. I collected the cards and I hand wrote advice column type answers. I ended up answering more than 10,000 cards in a single long summer. And that won a Guinness World Record. And I learned a lot about life, because when you teach, you learn, right?
Oh, what was some of the big lessons that you learned that apply now to where the world's going with AR and Metaverse and things like that?
The biggest lesson I learned was that a lot of people are too shy to ask for help. So you've got to offer help. You want to find somebody in your life and just offer to help them. Find that person, even if it's a stranger, even if it's yourself. And just acknowledging that you've got a problem and asking for help is 90% of just getting to just living a happier life. Or depressed, you're like, oh, I don't want to bother you. I'm embarrassed with my problems. I don't want to bring it up. I don't want to be a burden to you. But you're like, dude, I'm your friend. You're like, I want to help you. It's okay. But that conversation doesn't even get started if you wait for them to ask for help.
Right. So I think what I'll do is I'll proactively go to my mom and say, look, I know you want to learn how to use VR goggles, but I'll just proactively offer that guidance and help for you.
Okay, that wasn't the kind of help I was thinking of, but that's fine.
No, but it's, in all seriousness, I think what you
Yeah.
did was really an incredible thing. And I'm sure it touched and probably changed the lives of a lot of people. So yeah, I'll have a link to that too in the notes. I think people should take a look at it. It's, maybe there's a version 2. You ever think about doing it again at some point?
I do actually. The website is currently broken. There's some cards up there that you can see the questions people ask and my answers. But when I get a few $1,000s and a couple $100 of time, I really want to complete that website and then relaunch the project. But with people who are not me answering the questions. And I also like geocaching, which, as you know, is when you find a tree. At the bottom of the tree, you put a plastic weatherproof box. You put a couple of toys in there, and then other people walking around with their GPS can physically find the box and take a toy, add a toy. It's just kind of delightful to find like a little magical hidden real world box. I'm used to the idea that games are in your mother's basement in the dark playing the video game like this with all the lights off. But games didn't used to be like that. As kids, we played capture the flag, hide and go seek outdoors. Of course, people who are sporty like sports. We're not all sporty, but the AR mobile walking games can bring games outdoors again. We're putting a theme park in your public park. And if you're not athletic, or maybe you just culturally don't really like sports that much, here's an outdoor game that gets you out of your mom's basement, blinking in the sunlight, meeting real people, not online people. And I think that's healthy for everyone. It's good exercise. It's also good just mentally healthy. So in addition to making lots of money, the metaverse, AR, I hope to make a difference with our company, which is called
I could see
and we're raising funding. Hear ye, we are raising money.
on the billboard. No, I could see a world where, you go to a park and, people are, doing that with the phone, playing the AR game, and others who it creates a level of intrigue and interest, right? To say, oh, what game are you playing? And maybe that opens up a conversation. Hey, Johnny, thanks for spending the time. And, we'll drop the links in the chat, the notes down below. So thanks everybody for watching.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah.